All right, take number 2 for this lesson. All right, so 8.5. Audio wasn't the best during Schoology conferences again. I don't know if it's my computer, I restarted it, or Schoology conferences. But, all right, so we need to find the x-intercept and the axis of symmetry. So remember, to find the x-intercepts, we just want to set our parentheses equal to 0 and figure out what makes it equal 0. So if I have x plus 2 equals 0, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So negative 2 minus 2 equals 0. Same thing here, I have a minus 4, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 minus 4 equals 0. So those are my two intercepts, negative 2 and 4. Okay. It might be easier to have a graph for some of these. So if I put these on a graph, it's going to be easier to find the axis symmetry. So negative 2 is right here. Positive 4 is over here. Axis of symmetry, remember, is the line that splits the graph in half. So what line would exactly be in the middle between negative 2 and 4? The answer for that is positive 1. Or you think of it as what's the average. So going back to 5th grade math when we did mean, so negative 2 plus 4 is 2. I have two numbers, so 2 divided by 2 is 1. So 1 is my average, 1 is my axis of symmetry. Okay, so my axis of symmetry is 1. All right, same thing on number 2. I'm going to set my parentheses equal to 0. So I have x minus 2 equals 0.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
And x minus 3 equals 0. So add 2 to both sides. I would get 2 for this intercept. Add 3 to both sides. 3 plus 0 is 3. I get 3 for that intercept. So my two intercepts are 2 and 3. Halfway between 2 and 3 is 2.5. All right, kind of the same thing on 3 and 4 here. It's asking for a little more. It asks for the vertex now, and then it asks for the domain and the range. So same thing here if I'm looking for my intercepts. So x plus 5 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0. That means my intercepts are going to be negative 5 and negative 1. So negative 5 plus 5 is 0. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So I have negative 5 and negative 1. Halfway between negative 5 and negative 1 is my axis of symmetry. So this is my x-intercepts. My axis of symmetry then, halfway between those two, is negative 3. Okay, now to find my vertex, I already know my x is negative 3 because that's my axis of symmetry. But to find my y, I'm going to plug that negative 3 in for x and then do the math for it. So negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. So positive 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So that means my vertex is at negative 3, negative 4. And then we can kind of tell what this graph is going to look like because I know if that's my vertex, and I know that's my x-intercept, and that's my other x-intercept, I know how steep the graph is going to go, and I know it's going to look like that. Domain and range. Remember, domain could be anything. So we're doing all real numbers. Range, we kind of just figured out then too, the lowest point of this graph is going to be at negative 4. So y has to be everything greater than or equal to negative 4. All right. Same thing on number 4. That's negative 4 is on the outside. That'll come into play here in a minute. Otherwise, the beginning's just the same. So x minus 3 equals 0. So one intercept is 3, because 3 minus 3 is 0. And then I have x minus 1 equals 0. So my other intercept is 1, because 1 minus 1 is 0. So my x-intercepts are 3 and 1. And then I want to find the axis of symmetry. So if I have a graph here, and I have 1, and I have 3, axis of symmetry in between 1 and 3 then, halfway between 1 and 3, is 2. So then for my vertex, I know my x point is 2. For my y point, I have 2 minus 3 is negative 1. 2 minus 1 is positive 1. So I have negative 4, still on the outside here, don't forget about that. So negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. 4 times 1 is 4. So then my vertex there is 2, 4. So that means I'm going to go up to 4 here. Since it's negative, I know I'm going to be facing downward. And you can see this one's a little tighter than the other one because my intercepts were a little closer. So domain, still all real numbers. Range now, since it's going down, y has to be less than or equal to. That's the highest point y is ever going to be. And it's going to be less than or equal to 4. Okay, 5 and 6 kind of looks like 3 and 4, except they're not set up with the parentheses. So you just have to FOIL them out to set them up with the parentheses. So here we have x squared minus 4. So the only way to get to x squared is x and x. And then I need the square root of 4, which is a positive 2 and a negative 2. And then you can do it just like number 3. Same thing on number 6. Only way to get to x squared is x and x. Now I need two numbers that multiply to negative 15. And when I add them, I get a positive 2. So that's going to be a positive 5 and a negative 3. 5 times negative 3 is a negative 15. 5 plus a negative 3 is a positive 2. So now 5 and 6 look just like 3 and 4. You're going to set them up, find the x-intercepts, the x-symmetry, the vertex, the domain and range, and all that stuff.